Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's Roundtable. I'm so excited that you are here. Today we are with Shajuan Alexander, and we're going to be talking about marketing and private pay. So I'm really excited to bring this episode with you. I'm going to have Miss Shajuan introduce herself, and then we're going to take it from there.
Yes, thank you, Shauna, for having me. And as she said before, I'm Shajuan Alexander, and I'm the CEO of the Culture of Health PLLC. I own a virtual private practice, licensed in both Texas and Missouri, where I see women of color struggling with high impacting anxiety, depression, prolonged grief, and work-life balance. So I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about your private practice. How long have you been in private practice, and what made you make a transition into mostly private pay at this time?
Yes. So I've been in private practice for about 4 years, so right after the pandemic, and I've been in private practice full time, total entrepreneurship for almost 2 years. And started off initially taking insurance. So I was paneled on a few different third party companies, mainly the big healthcare systems and insurance companies here in Texas. So like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Humana, and Aetna. And I was taking insurance for a total of 3 years up until January 1st of this year when I decided to make the transition over to private pay. So inside my practice, I just knew that it was time for me to cut back administratively on trying to really hound down the payments from insurance, which is what made me make the final switch to say, this is enough, I want my time back. But also, insurance ended up being a barrier for some of my clients, which really left me more disheartened.
Wow. So I think that we don't talk about that enough, how sometimes insurance can be a bit of a barrier for
Mhm.
clients, especially like if we want to go beyond like our traditional therapy sessions. Like sometimes you want to have like that extended session, or sometimes you want to be able to explore other things, but your insurance is saying you have to do things a certain way, or you have to have this kind of evidence-based care. It does sometimes limit things for people.
It does. And I found that that was the main thing working with women, especially women of color. We connect in a different way. We need more time to talk. We
Mhm.
naturally hold a lot in, whether we're just wearing the cape of being a superwoman or just trying to balance family and work and just our worth all at the same time. So for me in private practice, it was very intentional to make my services 60-minute sessions and also 90-minute sessions. And I allow my clients to pick whichever ones they want to do and keep the price the same. So that's a benefit. And on the opposite end, I had some clients that really wanted to come and see me more than once a week because they wanted to complete the conversations, but not in an intensive way. They just wanted more support. And so I didn't want insurance to hold up that process for us or for their copays to be higher than what my regular rate was. And they still want to see me twice. So it was a hard decision, but I gave myself time to really plan out what it would look like to make the transition and make sure my clients had enough insight to when the change would take place. So even though I didn't change over till January, I started notifying them in October. So more than 90 days ahead of time, just to make the transition for myself and for them.
I love that. And I'm gonna ask a little bit more, because I know for like a lot of
Mhm.
people, when we talk about making a transition into private pay, a lot of times what we're told is like, talk to your clients. You would actually be really
Yes.
surprised by them. Some people will actually make that transition over with you. So how much, or
Mhm.
what is the percentage that you noticed made the transition into private pay with you?
So I would say maybe about 50%.
Okay.
I always carry a caseload full-time in private practice in between numbers of 40 and 50 people a year or 50 clients a year. And so I would say right now I'm at a solid like 23 people. So for me, it feels like it was about half. Now,
Right.
everyone doesn't come weekly. Some people come monthly now, so that's the difference. But it also allows me to continue to onboard new clients as I'm marketing. So I anticipate that I will lose some people, and that's what I initially sent out when I made the transition or made the decision to make the transition, was that 2025 will look different for the culture of health. And I want you to stay with me. Here are the barriers. Here are the solutions that I'm looking forward to in my practice. Here's how I want to keep you and how I can keep you. If you don't want to keep me, don't worry. We have 3 months to figure it out together, and I'm going to help you find a new therapist who can network with you, who meets your need, and that I can do a warm handoff with. So it was a very intentional warm handoff and closing for those who left, For those who stayed, they had more freedom and autonomy to book me as they wanted to.
Yeah. So my next question is, and I think I would love to point this out. You lost about 50% of your caseload, but I
I
bet
did.
with it being a private pay now, that's still, you're still able to support yourself with your practice because you're able to dictate your own reimbursement in all of this.
Correct. I'm able to scale my reimbursement and also prioritize my time and my own mental health a little bit better. So when I'm taking insurance or when anyone takes insurance, we're averaging maybe a cost in between $60 for some insurance rates. Some people are higher, it may be, or some insurance companies are higher. It may be closer to the 140 range. It's going to depend on where you are geographically. For me, my private practice rate is $185, but it didn't always start this way. In year one, I was at 125. Year two, I was in between like 165, and I kept that all the way until year four when I decided to raise the rate a little bit. So I knew raising the rate would offset the people that I would end up losing in that way, but it would feel better for me to where I'm
Mhm.
having more time and more intentionality with my clients and connecting better. I'm more present. I feel like I understand my cases a little bit better. Like, not that I didn't understand the people I was seeing before, but now I get to listen differently because I'm not rushing to the next appointment every day for every hour doing the small amount of work hours I have outside of administrative tasks. So it's been just a good transition in that factor too. But definitely preparing for the difference is important as a therapist. You have to know what your bottom dollar is, what you need to make per month. It's not to get rich here. I don't think any social workers I know aim to get rich off private practice, but we do want to make a living and we deserve to. So once I figured out my numbers, it was an easy decision to go with a yes. And a little bit of fear crept in, but I did it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's really important, and I think that's part of the thing that makes it feel really uncomfortable is asking for a number that seems so big. And I know like a lot of clinicians is like, well, I couldn't even afford my own rates if I'm asking for this rate,
Mm-hmm.
as well as like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm getting over on clients. But I think that it's really important to say it's like it's not even that we're getting over. It's that we're trying to be sustainable in our business, right? Like
No
nobody
doubt.
gets into a business to for it to be unsustainable. And
Yes.
I think one of the things that we look at is like, okay, the way that our business models set up, are set up, it's not really set up for the long term for us as
Mm-hmm.
clinicians, the way that we have it going. And if we're able to take more private pay and dictate that, then that helps us get forward. But I know a big pushback is how do you do that in this kind of economy? So, what did that look like for you going into 2025, looking at how the markets were going and kind of maybe even like feeling like a little bit of a slowdown when it came to referral sources, if that even happened to you at all?
Mm-hmm. So the slowdown is definitely there because naturally in 2025, we walked into a rude awakening of post-election stress and trauma, a lot of loss within jobs, a lot of people having to deal with the increase of prices on their basic necessities, which is also very important when it comes to therapy. You have to have your needs met before you can address anything else, meaning your food, your shelter, X, Y, and Z from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So I
Mhm.
anticipated that that would happen. I knew it would happen. And so for that reason, I was okay with lowering my number of expectation internally before I made the transition. So I knew I was going from seeing 18 people to maybe in my bottom dollar, eight people. That's all I needed, right? So once I made the shift to say, I don't need a full caseload of what you had in insurance. I need a full caseload at this rate to pay my bills only. And so I started to market in a small way. I marketed everywhere across all platforms, and I told people about the transition too. So the same as my clients got the email about that, I also speak to my colleagues I've built relationships with and also community partners and said, hey, I'm transitioning over here and I have this service at this rate. If you know anyone who can meet the need or know anyone looking for a therapist, please send them my way. Then I also did a lot of marketing on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on TikTok. Due to being on private pay, I'm not really prioritizing directories right now. Because as you know, with insurance, you're on directories and that's a main resource for you. But
Mhm.
here in Texas, it's a little bit different. Even though my last name is Alexander, I have a great profile that's been optimized and rewritten 3 to 4 times. I have a video. I have all the things I called you today says to have. I may be on page 15. I'm not on page 3. So for me, it ended up being, not enough to really depend on directories. And that's across multiple directories. I found that the best directory to get private pay clients is to be yourself, share what you do confidently, and talk about the people you serve endlessly. That's going to be your best marketing tool every time. And it's free.
Mhm.
It's free to talk about what you do, about yourself, about who you serve on different platforms whenever you want to, right now while it's free. And in the future, when all these apps become paid apps and it costs, I don't know, $10 to post or something, then of course you don't do it. You get more strategic there. But while it's free, you monetize everything, and that includes the value you bring to therapy clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would I've been talking about social media for a long, long time.
Yes.
And I think one of the things for us as clinicians is that we have to learn how to find the balance with social media. Because when
Mhm.
I was coaching in social media, I would have so many people come to me and they would be like, well, I don't want to be on Instagram all day long. And I'm
Mhm.
like, yes, I get that. I don't want to be on Instagram all day long, but you are not wanting to be there because one, you don't have the time. And like, yeah, perhaps you don't like social media and you don't like
Mhm.
how this is going. I understand. But where is your audience? Is your audience on social media all day long?
Exactly, exactly. You have to know who you serve. And like
Yeah.
that's the most important thing when it comes down to niching. I know you're a beast at niching in general and in marketing. So you already know this. You know how to call out or to speak to your ideal client. Same
Hmm.
is true for me. So I know in my population, I have a specialized needs. I only see Gen Z and millennial women of color in the healthcare setting. So I'm not talking to everybody online. I'm talking to nurses, physicians, pharmacists, medical social workers, CNAs, etc. Anything inside the medical setting, right? It can be a school nurse. I'm talking to them, but I'm also talking to a certain demographic of people, and I know where they are. Most of them are on TikTok being told misinformation. Some of them
Hmm.
on Instagram making very fast content. I know what their eye looks like, so now I start doing my content based on what their eyes are seeing, or based on what they're following, based on hashtags. So it's doing marketing research before just throwing anything out there, because throwing anything isn't strategy. It's just you trying to imitate and mimic something that's not working in your business. So you have to really be intentional about the marketing piece, which takes time. But that's why I went to private practice and private pay in general, so I can have time to do things and be creative. And I actually love being creative, which I think helps make marketing easier for me. Not for
Right.
everybody, but everyone can also learn it if they're willing to learn it.
Yeah. And I think you said something so important here that we don't even realize is that marketing research. And one of the things that I say is that I think directories are fine, but as
Mhm.
clinicians, we're kind of coddled because we have this really simple way of putting ourselves out there.
Yes.
And sometimes it's the only way that clinicians will put themselves out there instead of like, have you met with doctors? Have you spoken with the people that meet your people who are adjacent to the work that you do and who are talking to them every day? Because those are the people that you need to understand how your people are thinking, what they're looking for, what's
Mhm.
preventing them from getting into your door in the first place. And we don't get any of that information through Psychology
Yeah.
Today
Or
or
even in grad school.
yeah, or any directory for that matter.
Yes.
We just don't get that information because they're utilizing that information for themselves. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing that we have to kind of think about is, I mean, I don't think that they're out to hurt us, but these directories, they have contracts with other people as well. They have contracts
Mhm.
with big names and they're going to feed the contracts that they have that serve them. And I pay some directories $29 a month. That is
Yes.
pennies in comparison to the millions and billions of dollars that they're getting per these contracts that they have. And so I think
Absolutely.
it's really important for us to go back in, do that market research, really understand our audience. And that's
Mhm.
why I talk about niche so much. It's because it's the market research, it's understanding who
Market research.
are, where they're showing up, what they're actually asking for, because
Yes.
they might be asking for therapy, but they might not be saying therapy. They might be saying, I need someone to talk to who's not my mom, or I need
Mhm.
somebody to just hear me out. That's a therapist.
Yeah. And then even it's a therapist to every generation,
Mhm.
to every gender, to every identity. So there's so many factors in it, which is why therapists are never really in competition. We may think we are because it comes to directories. And I never forget, I had someone tell me recently, like having a directory is almost like being in competition with the people inside your profession, but in a magnified way. And then
Mhm.
here we are still paying $30 per profile per month, but there's thousands of us paying that. It's thousands of us also in burnout. who's struggling to make ends meet. So there's something's wrong with the ratio. There's just something's
Right.
wrong with it. And then you only give three small paragraphs to tell what you're doing, how to find you. Well, why not? Just why not make a whole month entirely dedicated to the people who you serve or who you want to see, who you desire to see on a monthly basis, weekly basis, whatever it is, and them to feel like, oh my God, this person gets me. Like that's
Mhm.
way more effective than three paragraphs and a 15-second video that I know everybody listened to this as recorded more than once. It took me 20 takes to do a 15-second video,
Hours.
trying to condense
Hours.
myself. And I feel like I'm like, oh, like this, I have so much to tell you, and I want to tell you, but I can't do it in 15 seconds. It's not as effective. So for
Mhm.
me, I'm like, let me make a long form video or a short form video. Let me put it in my story so I see. I have a free broadcast channel on Instagram that I promote inside too. So I do a lot on the marketing standpoint and the forefront, but it's because I had to learn it. Like it didn't come out of nowhere, right? It all started with being afraid. The imposter syndrome definitely creeps in because we're naturally consuming all day long, but so are our clients. So we have to do something different to make them stop and say, that's my person. I want to work with them. And yes, it doesn't matter what it costs because I can see this person gets me and it's going to never stop listening to me and helping me. That's more important than directing to me.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. So we've got a couple of more minutes left.
Mhm.
What would you say to the therapist who is in private practice? They're thinking about wanting to go to private pay, but they're also seeing a slowdown in their directories. It's not really working out for them. They're seeing a slowdown in their referrals, and they're not sure what to do, but they're getting scared because they're getting ready to dip into their savings. What would you say to them to kind of help them move forward or take the next steps in building back up their private practice?
Yeah, so I'll probably say two things. One, I would need them to evaluate what's working and not
Hmm.
what's working and what's not working. Because the worst thing we can do as therapists is continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results. So if you know that using that directly for $30 a month and you were missing $30 a month out your income, was $30 is a meal, right? So
Hmm.
I'll look at that like almost on a 3 to 6 month time frame and say, how effective has this been? That's when we're talking about systems, marketing, your own evaluation. So evaluate your business first. And then I'll also look at, is my rate too high? Is the ratio zero people who are booking my slots? Can I come down? Am I okay to let my pride and my ego down just a little bit temporarily? Because it won't always be like this. And we know this because most of us, I'm aging myself here, but we've lived through recessions before. We've lived through
Hmm.
price increases. So this isn't new. People are still buying things. Beyonce's concert and Chris Brown's concert is sold out. People are still getting their hair done, okay? I got my hair retwisted, it's $200. So we're not gonna act like money doesn't exist out here, but someone may value your services different. But I will task you with the idea of thinking of, okay, if this is my price and I don't want to let it down because I just want to keep this price and it's so important to me, what is that about? Let's do some ego and some inner work. And let's say, can I be more flexible on my price? If I know I need to make ends meet and make sure I'm not dipping into my savings. I would easily and have no problem with changing my rate down to 125 if I had to today. So being flexible is going to keep you in business. Also knowing longevity is there. Just because you get flexible in your price for 1 year, that's nothing compared to the years you went to school for and the years you can work. So this is your business. You get to plug and play at any time. The next thing I would do, so adding the bonus number three, is I would do some sort of support group. I run support groups every 6 weeks. I take a break for 2 weeks, run the 6 weeks again. My support groups are $45 a person for a short amount of time frame. That fee, I can have two people in my support group. That's a client session at my lowest rate or my sliding scale rate. So it really depends on how flexible you want to be with yourself, how easily you can let go of perfectionism within private practice because it is a real thing, and imposter syndrome. You may be thinking, I can't do a support group. I've never done it before. Have you tried? Have you been, actually, you probably already tried. You probably made a slide before. You probably talked to 6 to 8 people before. You know what you're doing in therapy because you have a private practice. All we're doing is doing it a broader way for the same amount of time of a therapy session, and you're picking a topic you can talk endlessly about. So those are the things I would suggest to someone who's just worried about money, about savings, and especially in this time of a recession. People still need services. It may just maybe different from one-on-one services. It doesn't mean the pendulum won't swing back. It never means that.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. You just dropped some gems for
I
folks
try.
out there. And I think that if we can have a whole other conversation on money,
Mhm.
just
Yep.
talking about like how do we feel about money because I think so many of us have some kind of money trauma that we
We
really
do.
haven't tapped into. And I think
Mhm.
that when it comes to our business, that money trauma plays out all the time. I've seen so many people
Yes.
say, like, I want to serve folks at an affordable rate. And I'm like, do you know that affordable is subjective? Affordable for
The
you.
portal can be free. The portal can be
Right,
$5. It could be
right.
whatever someone has in the construct in their mind, right? So let's do an
Yeah.
episode about that. You bring me back. We can talk all about that one too.
Absolutely. So, Shawan, where can we find you
Mhm.
when we are looking for more support in marketing, in building up your private pay clientele to be able to do this from October into January and see the kind of success that you have is a really big deal, especially with the way our markets are looking right now. So, where can people find you to get more support?
Yes, you can find me probably the closest and the best and the easiest on Instagram. Underneath my name is my handle, so Shajuan Alexander or the Culture of Health PLLC. And over there on Instagram, my main focus is to teach other practitioners who look just like us, who are women just like us, who have families, who have obligations, who have big passions and support, how to market their value confidently, authentically, and in a way that's profitable forever, right? So not just this year, when things are down, but next year when things are good, I want to help you build consistency over time. So because of that, I have a few different programs. And like I said, I like to be affordable just as the next person. My broadcast channel on Instagram is free. It's free motivation, free inspiration. I do a lot of free drops in there about the services I provide. And also I do quarterly goal setting with everyone inside the group. It's an open Zoom. They're welcome to come to it every quarter if they want to, if they're in business and don't want to sign up for my services. Outside of that, I also have an Align for Impact cohort where I coach 6 entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs on how to open up their own private practices. I will
Ooh,
tell you in this recession, I don't only tell them to open up private practices for private pay, start with insurance. We'll start with third-party companies or EAP services, and then use the program in a group format to build up what it takes to be a business owner for the first time. We need
mm,
that so we're not struggling in silence with all the major hits and ebbs and flows in private practice. So the cohort's good for that. I have a last program, it's my signature program called the Visibility Vault, where it's actually 8 one-on-one hours of coaching, and we're learning the basics of content creation so that you can be consistent. So I have some clients that come to me saying, I need to know how to use ChatGPT. I don't know how to schedule content. I want to do LinkedIn. I want to do podcasts. I want to do YouTube, but I need to learn how to work Canva. Let's learn it. So I'm all about marketing where you are and starting at the basics so that you can be consistent and make a life that you love.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us today. We're definitely going to have to come back and have more conversation. But for now, we're going to definitely check you out. Y'all should definitely see Shawan's Instagram. It is so helpful. I was able to catch a couple of lives recently and it was nice. So much information, so much gems in a really short period of time. So go ahead and check her out on Instagram and in her other channels. And we will see everyone soon. Bye.
Thank you for having